A single small rule can hold back a torrent of damaging actions. When that rule is removed, the flood does not begin with a dramatic explosion, but in quiet, overlooked places first. Imagine a single federal judge in a small state faces a local law that clearly violates a core principle we once held dear, like freedom of speech. Before, the judge would simply cite a constitutional amendment to strike down the law. Now, with the Constitution gone, the judge has no ultimate authority to reference. The judge's decision, whatever it may be, is based on personal reasoning, old case law, political pressure. This single, quiet failure is not a headline, but it is a crack in the dam. On the surface, it appears to be a political disagreement, a win for one side and a loss for another. The system's integrity depended on that standard. Now, a roadmap. Baseline context, first-order consequences, second-order feedback loops, escalation, altered long-term state, a deeper payoff, and an unresolved question that matters. A technical-seeming problem becomes systemic as uncertainty replicates. The first drop signals the wider flood to come. In normal times, the Constitution functions like a computer's operating system, unseen software that lets everything else run. It establishes the structure of government. 3 branches, legislative, executive, judicial, with checks to prevent dominance. It allocates powers, some federal, some state. Federal examples, national defense and currency. State examples, local schooling and policing. When federal and state rules conflict, federal law prevails, the supremacy clause. That clarity reduces fights over authority. It enables cooperation on national projects and coordinated responses. Think shared standards that let systems work together. It protects individual rights, speech, fair trials, and freedom from unreasonable searches. Those protections don't depend on a single politician's will. Officials swear oaths to uphold that standard. Change happens, but only through a deliberately difficult amendment process. 2/3 propose, 3/4 ratify. That friction preserves stability while allowing progress. That's how a diverse nation functions as one. Shared rules, shared scale, shared outcomes. The operating system makes the whole greater than the parts. Quick pulse check. If this breakdown is clarifying, tap like, drop your take in a comment, and subscribe for more what-if investigations. It helps others find this analysis. The moment the Constitution is abolished, authority fractures. Without the supremacy clause, federal rules no longer override conflicting state rules. Immediate crisis of legal authority. Who is in charge? A governor declares a federal regulation void in state. Local police receive opposite directives. From the state attorney general and the DOJ, units stall, fearing they'll violate the wrong command. Courts lose a binding hierarchy. Supreme Court rulings become opinions without controlling force. Lower courts no longer feel bound to follow. Neighboring districts issue opposite outcomes on the same question. Commerce jams as predictability vanishes. A contract is valid in one state, void in another. Shipments halt at borders and warehouses wait. Ambiguity hits rights. Press, assembly, self-incrimination differ by state. A city restricts newspapers or bans protests without a federal backstop. Some states keep protections, others remove them. An American's rights now depend on their zip code. People self-censor. Posts backspaced, microphones muted. The chilling effect spreads through offices, classrooms, and newsrooms. Fear and silence fill the gap where shared rules used to be. When a state defies a federal agency, uncertainty spikes. People hedge, pulling cash and halting shipments. Jobs vanish, revenues fall, desperation rises. Support for radical actions grows. As rulings diverge, trust in courts collapses. Private enforcement fills the vacuum, further weakening state authority. Competing narratives flood screens. No one knows who to believe. Cynicism spreads. Cooperation and participation fall. Restrictions replicate across states without pushback. Leaders see they can impose them without consequence. Tightening feedback loops concentrate strain at bottlenecks. Courts clog with conflicting rulings, with no final arbiter to settle them. Major suits stall for years, freezing billions in assets, a clot in the nation's economic arteries. Investment, hiring, and innovation pause without predictable dispute resolution. Elections become another pressure point. Every rule contested. Multiple winners claim legitimacy, inviting paralysis or conflict. Modern supply chains need uniform law. Patchwork rules break flow. Permits multiply. Financing balks. Choke points create shortages of food and medicine. Tax receipts plunge. Mandates blur. Essential services dry up. Cross-border enforcement fails when authority isn't recognized. After prolonged disruption, a fractured order emerges. Not a return to the old system. A localized, brittle normal. States and regional blocs sign compacts, making their own laws, courts, and security forces. Rights in one bloc become crimes in another. Borders harden with customs. The United States stops functioning as one nation. Private power grows. Large corporations run logistics, networks, and security, setting terms for local governments, dictating terms to local governments. Zones of private governance appear, wealth and organization by force and loyalty. Rights and safety depend less on citizenship, more on employer or landlord. Where courts are weak and laws unclear, order is kept by direct force. Curfews, checkpoints, and overt surveillance become commonplace. Security exists, liberty is the price. A patchwork of competing authorities is brittle, easily shocked. If this analysis helps, like, comment, and subscribe to keep thoughtful work in your feed. Chaos is visible. The deeper cost is quieter. Innovation scales when rules are predictable and nationwide. One rule set lets ideas reach hundreds of millions. When the framework shatters, patent and securities rules fragment. Markets shrink into risky micro-jurisdictions. 10-year projects lose funding when rules and markets shift midstream. Incentives tilt to short-term local ventures. Which regions keep big employers and services? Share your reasoning. Progress fades slowly, then all at once. People remain ingenious. The platform that protected ingenuity does not. What service in your town relies on federal-state cooperation, and how would its failure hit your day? A written constitution is more than politics. It's an economic platform. It creates the predictability and scale a modern, innovative society needs. Remove it, and you dismantle the engine of future prosperity. Border fights may settle. Lost decades of innovation don't return. What scenario should we explore next? Share your ideas below. You've been watching If Verse, where imagination meets possibility. See you in our next reality.